Live from the Motor City, all the way to the Volunteer State. It's time for the Reckless Speculation Podcast, where we recklessly speculate the latest news in the world of sports. From college football to NASCAR, we've got you covered. And don't forget to stick around for the world-famous Bet Your Nuts, where we will give you your best bets to make the most money. Now sit back, grab your favorite drink of choice, and join Robbie Davis, Raj Mehta, Brandon Chain, and Tom Sloan. It's showtime.
Welcome, everyone, to Reckless Speculation. Today is December the 6th. We're recording this. Hopefully, you guys are watching live. If not, you can always get us on the podcast or anywhere things can find anything where you can find a podcast. We are joined to, here we go, Reckless Speculation Podcast on YouTube. That is our new variation of our channel, so please like, follow, and subscribe. We have the Reckless Speculation Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and on TikTok. We're at Reckless Speculation Pod, the number one. On X, formerly known as Twitter, at Reckless Specule1. And so please follow us and like and subscribe. We really do appreciate it. Before we get into the introductions, if you saw the intro live, you'll see that we have our guest Michelle with us tonight. So we're lucky to have her. But we're going to do a quick little brief thing with our sponsors. If you would like to become a sponsor, then please contact us and we'll be happy to get you on. But we're powered by C&W Construction out of Nashville, Tennessee, the greater Nashville area. They handle everything from full builds, remodels, decks, pools, anything that you need done to your house. Quality construction. We are also brought to you by the law firm Davis, Kessler, and Davis, which I am an attorney there. And I promise I am better behaved in the courtroom than I am on this podcast. But nonetheless, please, if you ever need any kind of personal injury needs or criminal defense, please feel free to contact us. And now, without further ado, Tom, welcome.
Good evening. How you doing, Robbie?
Hey, I am fine. Wednesday evening, doing well. Brandon, how about yourself?
Doing well. Good to get everyone back here for a nice little convo on this college football fiasco.
Yeah, I would welcome Raj, but I know better because we're on time. So I will welcome Michelle.
Good to see you guys again. Thank you so much for having me back.
Yes, thanks for being on here. So before we get into, let's talk. So, it's Wednesday. We're filming this. We've had since Sunday to digest the big college football news. We're not going to spend all that much time on it because it's been talked about a lot. We have done a Reckless Speculation preview and reaction, or prediction and reaction. Michelle, I have seen your social media, and so tell some of our viewers what you think about the Final Four and what happened.
So I think excluding Florida State from the college football playoff is disgusting, and it goes against everything that is great about college football, which is Florida State made the very hard and wise decision to schedule LSU early, won that game. That should have mattered. Florida State, let's start with even before the season began. Florida State is a team full of kids who could have gone to the NFL and returned to play because they wanted a chance to win a national title. Not just Jordan Travis. It includes Jordan Travis, of course, but other guys who are spectacular. And this team also overcame the injury of Jordan Travis. They won 2 games. I think everybody talking about how bad Florida is really downplaying what a hard environment the Swamp is. That was a tough win. They go out
You
They
don't have
win.
to tell me how hard the swamp is. Tennessee loses every time.
It's tough, right?
Yes.
No matter how bad Florida is, the
Yeah.
Swamp is a hard place to play. And they won there in a tough game. They won the ACC championship game against Louisville, and
with a third string quarterback.
With a third string quarterback. By the way, they were gonna get Tate Rodemaker back for the playoff game if they were to make it that far, but it's just disgusting to me. It's truly disgusting. I can't get over it. I'm never going to be over it. I might die mad about it. No matter what happens, honestly, no matter what happens in the Michigan-Alabama game, a lot of people have said, if you're a Michigan fan and you're upset about Florida State, it's just because you're afraid of Bama. Whatever. We're the 1 seed, they're the 4 seed. I don't care about Bama. I really think Florida State got screwed, and I'm going to stay mad.
And I went back and forth about this. One thing, did the committee make themselves did they immerse themselves in this controversy by the week before moving Florida State from 5 to 4? Because they were out 2 weeks ago, then they were back in, and all they did was win, and then they're back out again.
Win. Yeah. No, I think the committee really set themselves up for failure. I think they fell into the trap that we kind of all fell into by just assuming what the outcome of these conference championship games was going to be, right? We all thought it was probably going to be Oregon, not Washington in that picture.
Mm-hmm.
That wouldn't have changed. So I think the Pac-12 had a seat regardless. But I think virtually everyone assumed that Georgia would beat Alabama, myself included. I was sort of praying for the chaos just to see what they would do, because there was, I guess, like the most naive and best part of me thought that there might actually be a chance that they'd exclude the SEC. And
I don't know if you watched our previous show.
Raj and I were rooting for it.
I was adamant that just wasn't going to happen, partly because, and we're going to get into this, it's a TV show, and I read somewhere where they said projected ESPN is going to save itself $150 million, what they could have lost without Alabama in there. So, but before we get to that, Brandon, you, well, none of you guys like the SEC, but I'll start with you. What if UGA wins? Does Texas jump Florida State, or was it that win over Alabama now? Is that what leapfrogged Texas over Florida State?
I think so. I don't think Texas – I mean, they're sitting there at 7 at this point, and if UGA wins, it's chalk. You know, we're business as usual. It's those 4 teams. There's no change. The committee has an easy layup here, and there's no way. The only reason Texas got in, because you can't put Alabama over Texas, right?
Yeah.
Because they won the head-to-head, and there's so much emphasis on head-to-head in the committee's eyes. You know, what we think they say. You know, that's the funny thing about this whole ordeal is it's so gray. It's like I do construction for a living, and I deal with inspectors, right? And there's written codes that you have to go by, but they're all gray area up to interpretation of the inspector, right? This is the same thing for the committee. It's whether it's the best 4 teams, or whether you're going by strength of schedule or your latest win, or like they can sit in a room and do whatever they want and make up any excuse they want.
Yeah.
But no, Texas would have not been in there if Georgia won.
Yeah. And so this brings up an interesting point. Tom, I'm going to ask you this question. Florida State didn't benefit from scheduling LSU. They didn't benefit from their annual game against Florida. What they got penalized, not for what they did or what they did not do. They got penalized because Alabama and Texas played. Because if they don't play this year, Florida State's in and Alabama's in.
There's a good chance. And Coach Norvell pretty much nailed it I love the fact that he didn't mince words with his statements. He was very, very colorful, we'll say, using the phrases disgusting and things of that nature. And they said it as much. He said, we did everything we had to do. We overcame every obstacle. Never mind the fact that, like Michelle said, the third string quarterback, a top 20 Louisville team offensively held to 6 points in the championship game. You want to talk about the committee, or boo Corrigan, who I think is the biggest fraud, makes a claim that the quarterback play just wasn't there. I'm as big of a Michigan fan as you'll find. And there was a comparison. Quarterback play since Jordan Travis' injury compared to J.J. McCarthy.
Better.
Florida State had better numbers.
Yeah.
Albeit Michigan, their offensive kind of focus was more on the run game, and JJ really didn't have to win the game per se. But if you're making that claim, and then these stats come about, it's unfair. And I just think I agree with Michelle. It's wrong. In 9 previous years, they said Power 5 conference champion is going to get in. And not only were they a Power 5 conference champion, they were 13-0. So there's definitely a lot of wheeling and dealing going on. And I believe ESPN was involved in the whole situation.
Yeah, and we're going to get to that. Well, so like I've witnessed Alabama win a championship having a different quarterback from the first half to the second half when Tua came in. So the premise that, oh, your quarterback's hurt, it's going to make you less of a team 3 weeks from now, doesn't really hold water. We've seen it with Cardale Jones. We've seen it with Tua and Jalen Hurts, them flip-flopping. Michelle just talked about like how much better can a team be from now till January?
It's so much better, right? Like you get a little bit of in-game experience, which Rodemaker got in one of the hardest environments in college football, as we know. I mean, to return to the swamp, right? Like he went and won there with additional time. I think he can really learn the offense better. Like it's just so disingenuous. And also like Florida State was pretty dependent on the run. Like if you look at Trey Benson, he was a really key part of that offense. And as far as I know, he's still healthy, right? You make the comparison to J.J. McCarthy, and it's like Michigan beat Penn State running the ball. J.J. didn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean they should be disqualified? like I could have been quarterback for the second half of Penn State. So I just find it so disingenuous and further evidence that what they really wanted to do was just make sure the SEC didn't get left out.
Yeah. Well, and we just saw it on Monday Night Football in the NFL. That Browning kid, I've never even heard of him. And he just lit up Jacksonville. Like, like
Washington.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back up. Oh, he did play it there. So, I mean, backup quarterbacks can play. All right, Brandon.
Well, and then real quick, not to interrupt.
Yeah.
I think it was Booger McFarland on ESPN's coverage on Sunday morning, kind of got into it with Dan Orlovsky, who's famously known for running out of the back of the end zone as a Detroit Lion. He's making the claim, Orlovsky's making the claim that, you can't put Florida State in because Jordan Travis was most of that team. But Booger made a really good point, and normally I don't agree with that guy. I'm not a fan, but he said, so let's take this and flip it in the NFL scenario. Chiefs are getting ready to go to the playoffs. Patrick Mahomes gets hurt. Do you keep the Chiefs out of the playoffs because Patrick Mahomes is hurt? What's the difference here? And of course, they were back and forth. Neither one of them agreed with each other. But it's that situation. You take and make the claim that they're not the same team because one player is out. What does that say to the 109 other kids that are on that sideline? And and the other kids that went and won the ACC championship. I think it's just a slap in the face for the whole program.
Well, I did find it ironic that Greg McElroy was on ESPN talking about how you can't win a championship with subpar quarterback play, and that's exactly how he has the college football championship.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
do like Greg. That was just ironic.
It's such a TV show and so political. Like, I mean, that's all I said. There's so many gray areas. They can use whatever as a scapegoat. So,
all right, Brandon. Well, let's no pun intended. Get to the elephant in the room. ESPN and the SEC network, they are partners. They have the broadcast rights for the college football playoffs. I talked about the money earlier, how much they're set to win. Now, disclaimer, ESPN also owns the ACC network, but that's like me owning a Porsche and me owning a bicycle as far as what you're taking care of better. So what did this relationship, if anything, have to do with what happened in the committee room?
Everything. 100% everything. Like they can.
So you're all in on ESPN controlled this decision.
Yeah, it's
Michelle nodding.
Politics. Yes. It's politics and money.
Never been more convinced of anything.
This is a TV show. It's politics and money, and they finally got caught with their pants down because we all knew with a 14 playoff, eventually this was going to come to head, right? Eventually it was, and then what were they going to do when you had this kind of situation? And they showed their cards. It's all about money and politics. It has no, and they can't say put the best 4 teams in because that's only half right on this 4 teams, right? And then, we're all talking about Florida State. What about Georgia? I feel sorry for Georgia right now. Like what happened to them? Yep. They were number 1 all year. And now they lose 1 game at the end of the season and they don't even get to number 4. Like
that's where you see the inconsistency in the narrative, right? Is exactly. Everybody wants to come back and say, well, we never said it was the most deserving. Even I feel like they tried to hedge a little bit by coming out with a statement before this happened saying most deserving is not in our lexicon. It's always the best 4. But then if you exclude Georgia, it's not the best 4.
Right.
Georgia is one of the 4 best teams in college football. Anybody who understands college football knows this. So there's just still inconsistency. It's like you're trying a hybrid of deserving and best, and both are really receiving a disservice.
Well, and I'll take it a step further. I still think if you're talking just best 4, I still think Oregon's in there. Like Oregon just played a team that's a bad matchup for them twice. Like if this is a 12-team playoff, Oregon can get hot and win this thing. I mean, not get hot. They can just not play Washington.
I think they could beat Texas.
Yeah.
I don't think Texas is one of the best 4 teams.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I agree with that too.
Well, I would put Oregon and Ohio State in there before Texas.
It's the most lucrative.
Yeah. So for both of you guys, how much is this TCU Georgia game last year to blame for the decision Sunday? Because while they say they don't take, I mean, those ratings plummeted, and that's got to be if
they did, but there was not any issue with TCU last year getting in. I mean, they were deserving of it. You know what I'm saying? This year they ran into trouble, and they're trying to pull both sides of the fence here. I mean, they're trying to say best schedule, best team versus, quarterback's going to take you out of the game, bullshit. And I don't think last year had any implication on how they reacted this year. This year was strictly like, we're screwed. Let's go with where we can get the most money.
Yeah.
Honestly, a lot of people have cited the TCU game against Georgia as a reason to exclude Florida State. And I think the TCU game against Michigan is a reason to include Florida State. because it shows that an underdog can actually win a college football playoff game. I sort of joked about this in some of my statements on Twitter, but like, if you just assume that Michigan would have blown out Florida State, you haven't seen Michigan in a playoff game.
Yeah.
That's not what they do.
Well, and you look at every other sport. Are there only 4 teams? No, there are way more teams. Like, it is a playoff. 4 teams is, I mean, that's a commodity that, money picks.
I wish I could remember this guy's name. He was a call-in show for he called in to one of these shows, and he was like, what we are seeing is, he's like, he had compared the college football playoff. This idea is like your friend that's in this bad relationship, and you're like, don't do it, and they get married, and like, now we're at the divorce stage. Like, it finally has been like, boom goes the dynamite. Now the divorce is happening, and they're going to 12. Tom, so shout out to, I think it was a caller from Denver, actually. Shout out to whoever he was. So, Tom, you have been all over the ESPN SEC conspiracy, going all the way to Herb Street's, the helmets in the background. How deep do you think it goes?
Well, there was some reports that came out that said they knew, and that this has been planned for several days to not include Florida State. So if you go back a week prior, the helmet placement was basically the 4 that were there the week prior. So interesting enough that supposedly the only person that was going to know the results was the graphic man.
Yeah.
Which, come on. Anything Reese Davis says is complete mumbo jumbo, if you ask me.
He's reading it off the teleprompter.
Alabama grad, boom, right there. McElroy, Alabama grad. So, and I do agree, the financial implications of an SEC school being in the playoff compared to not being in the playoff is massive, especially going into next year where ESPN has exclusive rights. So, I just think between that and Boo Corrigan's nonsensical explanation as to why Florida State was left out, and that was it. I mean, there was no further, we don't know who voted for who. And one thing I talked about the other day was Boo Corrigan represents NC State, who is in the ACC, along with 3 other representatives in the ACC on that committee. Which I found it very interesting that 4 of the, I believe there's 11, all are ACC representatives, and yet they keep their ACC champion out. Very interesting. And that kind of leads more to my thinking that ESPN had a lot more to say than what we really know.
Well, and
they're probably outvoted and got a couple $1 million on the side.
That's so I will say that. So
pay that man his money
for this show, who, we're doing it for, just kind of our side, just for fun.
Speculating recklessly.
We prepare.
We do it for the viewers, Robbie.
A general outline of what we're going to talk about. Michelle, you're an attorney. Is there any way you think that Boo is getting out there on national TV for the first time and just being like, oh yeah, let me answer these questions they're asking? Like, they're prepped, they've got their talking points. There is a lot more because jobs are on the line. Like, they're not learning this for the first time on live TV.
No,
right?
Absolutely not. No. He was prepped last week on what to say.
Yeah.
I truly believe that.
Well, you would never have a client like, oh yeah, just walk out on TV and
no need to talk about your deposition before. Just go in there and tell the truth.
Just go out there.
Yeah.
Just do it. We believe in you.
No, not a chance. He was totally prepped. This is, if there's anything we've learned from this college football playoff fiasco, it's that this is all a media product. All of
Sure.
it. And like, we're the idiots for thinking that it's about the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
100%. It's gotten to be too much of a TV show. Like, I used to love college football for the passion and the kids that, play and fight, and, that last game. Now you got all these transfers and NIL and, opting out of the bowl game. Like, to just make it to a bowl game used to be mean something, right? Like, you made it to a bowl, like you're playing in the Cotton Bowl or whatever. And it's like,
well,
now it's like stupid. So.
And the pairing, right? So they paired Florida State with Georgia with the hopes Georgia beats the doors off of them, and like, oh, see, we told you so. And so
let's put them in Florida.
So Florida State can't go undefeated, and it's they're gonna be like, oh, see, we did the right thing. Like, they could have paired them with.
But here's the thing: like, half of Georgia's players probably won't even play. They're probably going to opt out of that game.
Georgia's still better, but
their second team's probably still better.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying.
Yeah, no,
it could be close. So it's the same thing in Ohio State. I mean, there's a lot of players. No one has officially opted out yet, but I mean, the line started in our favor. Now we're plus 1.5. Right?
The second part of that statement was going to be, they did that hoping Georgia beats them, but it could backfire tremendously. If Florida State then says, we just beat who you said was number one all year long.
But it's relative to, is the full team playing, right?
Yeah.
Like, all these side games now, with if you don't have your full squad and people are opting out, like, it's actually nothing. It means nothing.
They're almost exhibitions for the next season.
It's stupid. It's so stupid.
Tryouts for these kids.
Michelle, we have a legal question that we wanted to ask. Anything FSU can do? We've heard. I know there's some senators that are trying to hold congressional hearings, but that's going to go nowhere. That's just politics.
Part of the budget. Part of the DeSantis budget included a $1 million for legal funds to go against the committee, the college football committee.
But Michelle, anything in realization that could happen?
So believe me, because you know how mad I am about this.
Yeah.
I thought about any legal remedy that might be available to them. And I just think there's too much discretion baked in. I don't know that they have any sort of formal contract with the College Football Playoff Committee as an entity where they could argue any sort of breach. I mean, maybe there's an intentional interference with a potential economic opportunity, but honestly, no court. Well, the only hope they have, I thought about this too, is that is the venue hope.
Yeah.
You file that in the right court, you might make it past a motion to dismiss, even if it's not.
Yeah.
Even if it's just dumb, just tie him up in court.
Because we all know is you can sue anyone for anything. The question is how far you get, but I don't know. The right judge.
No, it's the right appellate court. You got to get to the court, and then the right judge, and then the appellate court to just at least.
Okay.
Oh, we'll take time.
Hear me out. You could get an injunction from a judge,
right,
who's like diehard Seminole, and he doesn't care. He's on the way out. He's going to go retire and work at Jag or Jams.
Yeah.
And he could issue an injunction with regard to the playoff before an appeal could be heard.
No, that's what I'm saying is, if you get
reckless speculation, right? I mean,
you need the right judge and the right court of appeals to be like, okay, we're going to hold off on, we're going to keep the injunction in play while we're going to we'll keep the injunction valid while we brief it.
But do it at the right time, and then there's not enough time for an appeal, and then the injunction stands.
So basically, the consensus is money and politics run
connections
everything.
and pray that you have a favorable judge who will not recuse himself. And
it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah,
Who you know.
I'm with you, Michelle.
Absolutely.
I thought about this too, and I was like, because obviously we haven't seen any kind of the contracts or the membership language, but you're a member, you signed off on this committee. There's absent just something, and even if you got a stay or an injunction to delay the games, it's delaying the inevitable and then probably setting yourself up for, I don't know.
So what about the monetary side of that? Like with all the deals and everything, like could you not file something on like loss of, value or something in that nature?
Either a breach of contract or some sort of other legal duty owed. And I cannot think of either one of those pathways that seems viable. And I think there's enough discretion afforded to the committee. And honestly, the real death knell for Florida State, in my view, was that enumerated criteria that allows the committee to consider injuries. That's the death knell, where I think
that was the gray area finality that they said it only happens on this final decision.
It was enough.
You're exactly right. Yeah.
It's still wrong, but it's discretionary enough, and it's.
But that was a loophole that they wrote and everyone signed off on before we even got to this point, right?
Like, absent somebody from the committee coming out and saying, "Hey, ESPN said we have to do this."
It does, yeah.
It's just just makes me so mad.
I still think
like it's so many loopholes.
You can put together enough of a complaint to get the right judge to do something, but
I think you could be loud, but you would never really do anything with it.
Yeah, well, it's one of those. Do you rock the boat? Like is this like if it was somebody like,
how deep are your pockets that you want to take it and keep it in the headlines and keep rolling with it, right?
Yeah,
attorneys are expensive. Robbie lives in fancy house. He's got houses everywhere. He's got a yacht and shit, and
Yeah, you're the one golfing with country music writers today, so don't go there.
But
I feel a few things.
Before we get into how much lawyers make, let's talk about the games themselves.
Let me turn on my fireplace that's by my desk.
Yeah.
Are you sitting outside? Are you cold?
No, I just have a fireplace by my desk.
God, you should
keep her comfortable.
I don't have one in my office.
Tom, let's talk about the actual matchups. Michigan undefeated all year long against the big bad Crimson Tide. What are you looking for? Well, how do you think the teams match up? Because we're going to get into predictions later, but just matchups. How do you think they match up?
Defensively, I think they're pretty good. I would say that's a really good matchup. Running game, similar. I think the difference you're going to see in this game is Milroe's ability to throw the long ball and maybe some speed, receiver speed. We haven't really seen JJ have to win games with his arm. Do I think he's capable of doing that? I do. I don't know if Michigan has the power specifically at the receiver position. They're a little small at receiver. So this is a game where he's going to have to rely heavy on the tight end and really get, I think, Donovan Edwards a little bit more action out of the backfield. But you hear everybody. The big thing coming out of the show was the gasp that everybody heard in Indianapolis at the breakfast. And of course, Barstool Brandon and all these other people take to Twitter, said, "Did you see that response? Michigan's scared of Alabama." No, Michigan couldn't believe that FSU got got held out. That's what
I took from it as well. It's like they were just shocked as everybody else not in the SEC country.
Once the dust settled, they started clapping because all the nonsense aside, you have two storied programs in the most hallowed stadium
Rose
in all
Bowl
of college
is
football.
Unbelievable place to play.
It's a storybook setting.
Yeah.
They should have the whole
the
championship at the Rose Bowl. Like,
playing
it's
it
the
at
best
NRG
place.
in Houston is stupid. But yeah, who wouldn't want that?
Houston's one of the worst cities in the world. Not the world, America.
And then when you look at it, Michigan might have the advantage with the fans
here.
I think Michigan will travel more than Alabama. I think they'll have an advantage, with people in the stadium. So, this is a lot like the Ohio State game. I think there's things that Michigan can do better than Alabama, and vice versa. Again, Milroe, but look at what they played in Auburn. Look at how they played in Auburn.
Mm-hmm.
Will that be the Auburn team we see playing Michigan? Who knows? You give Saban a month. I don't think that'll be the case, but
yeah,
it's a dream matchup and one I cannot wait to see. And by no means do I think Michigan's afraid because what they've been through this season alone and they've overcome, I think they'll be ready to go.
Brandon, what's your preview or kind of matchup preview?
Can they both lose? that's mine. Like
that was me last week for the SEC championship.
I mean, if they can both lose, this would be the happiest day of my life. But no, you got two juggernaut coaches going at it. One is the GOAT. One is pretty damn good.
He doesn't want to say it.
It's a good matchup. Defensively, like
how dare you just reduce Nick Saban to pretty damn good?
Hey,
here we
go.
go.
Nobody pull a Drew string over there. Come on,
some rat poison.
Let's go. No, Bama by 50. Let's go. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. It's going to be a battle. I really think so. In all seriousness, I think they both match up really well. I think it's going to be a defensive battle in the trenches, in my opinion. And like Tom said, there's going to be some chunk plays on either side. We've seen a little bit more out of Milroe, especially recently with that Auburn, 40-yarder or whatever he threw. But oh God! Like I said, I don't want to pick a winner.
That's later in the show.
I'm not picking a winner, but it's going to be a battle.
Michelle, are you going to be in attendance?
Possibly.
You got to spend that lawyer money somewhere.
I know.
What's your preview? Just matchup wise, coaching wise.
Well,
you've already thrown a shot at Nick Saban.
Yeah. No, that was a shot at Brandon only.
It's all good. I take shots well. I got a beard.
So I actually love that it's Alabama. I love that it's Alabama because Alabama, for all its struggles this year, commands immediate respect.
Yeah.
And all the Michigan fans downplaying that initial reaction that was maybe suggestive either of outrage about Florida State or fear of Bama, like whatever it was. I don't care if they have an initial fear of Bama. That fear is reflective of respect, and respect brings out the best in a really good team. And I think Alabama will do that to Michigan. I almost like it because I think it is going to galvanize this team even more. So I love the matchup, honestly. Yeah. And in terms of what it looks like on the field, what I saw from Milroe in that Georgia game was frankly like kind of some reckless passes. And you cannot be reckless throwing the ball around Michigan. They will pick you off quickly. They have been absolutely lethal. We saw, frankly, a ball intended for Marvin Harrison Jr. get picked off and ran back to the detriment of Ohio State in that game. And
the first one was a terrible throw by Kyle McCord. It wasn't even close.
Twice
the second one,
former Buckeye Kyle McCord.
Yeah,
Go on. He didn't want to stay and compete. We'll get to that.
I think that Milroe gets a little dangerous, and I think Michigan can take advantage of that. I will give it to him. He is very deadly with his legs, but I have a lot of confidence in Michigan's D-line. They've been incredibly solid. They're better than Georgia's D-line, in my view. I think they can contain him more effectively, and I just really trust our secondary, especially if Will Johnson has additional time to get healthy. I think he can really make Milroe more one-dimensional, and I think that D-line can contain him. So I feel okay about that matchup. I also, and maybe this is just me drinking the Kool-Aid, think that Michigan has held a lot back offensively because they can. Maybe that's naive, but they continue to win. They continue to win, notwithstanding, frankly, being without their head coach for a few games. So I ultimately trust Jim Harbaugh. I trust the coaching staff to prepare adequately. And I like that Michigan maybe is a little bit afraid of Alabama. That doesn't concern me. I like it.
Michelle, you brought up a great point that I want to just hit on, just from my personal experience. I got to bring Tennessee into the show, of course, but no, like, these are, we're a little older than the college kids are now, but like, these are players that are 18 to 22. Their entire life, they have seen Alabama being extremely dominating. And so, yeah, there could be a little bit of hesitation. And if this game was played this weekend, maybe Alabama does have an advantage because of that mental thing. But once you get these 3-4 weeks to watch film and you start to see, hey, they're beatable, there's the weaknesses, you can break them down, you can show where they're weak, they become more human and beatable. When Tennessee beat Alabama last year, no student at UT remembered the last time Tennessee beat Alabama. It was 16 years. They were 2, and so there has been that allure of Alabama. And so I do think the gap really does help Michigan get prepared for this game.
Yeah.
I don't think Michigan's been holding out necessarily. We did see a few trick plays during the big game. So
they were so effective too. But we didn't see crap in the Iowa game.
Well, to be fair,
not
they didn't need to,
but they didn't have to. It's Iowa.
Once you
could have played
score 3 against Iowa, it's over.
You could have played quarterback. Yeah, you could have kicked a field goal, and it was game over.
Yeah. Well, they even said that Turner had the game-winning field goal with 3 or 4 minutes into the game. I thought that was funny.
It's true.
Side note, Kirk Ferentz he's mediocre at his job, and he has had it forever. It's unbelievable.
So here's a side note I want to throw in.
Yeah.
So this whole Washington, Oregon big fiasco, right? Coming into the end, right? One of them's going to go. It sucks for us because Michigan and Ohio State are on the same side. Like, that game, even if we play at the end of the year, we would both be going to the repeat, Big Ten championship again.
Yep.
And see who plays. And then, we go from there. That's a huge disadvantage for the Big Ten because the 2 best teams are on the same side, which won't happen next year. But
it's going divisionless.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a good idea.
So it's going to be a good idea because it's going to be
great.
We're going to play at the end of the year, and then we're going to play again a week later. It's exactly what's going to happen. I mean, am I wrong? We're going to play twice, right?
Good chance.
I don't know. We
Who
have
else is
new participants in the Big Ten next year. I don't know if you heard.
Oregon and Washington and
What if a few of those teams have been
USC, blah blah blah.
Yeah, that's. I mean,
it's still going to be Ohio State, Michigan.
Is that the most
playing
Ohio State statement you guys have ever heard? Just assuming they're going to be 1 or 2 and then 1 or 2 again.
I'm actually not confident of that. So I'm happy divisions are going away because as a college football fan first and a Michigan fan second, I do think you just get always a trash conference championship game with the current format.
Well, Big Ten does. The SEC championship game.
No, I'm talking about with ours, with our divisions, because the East is so loaded. Like Penn State could have won that big. Penn State effectively did win that game with a shutout as well.
Sure.
Earlier this season. So you do get like a super trash conference championship game. But I talk a lot about what it will look like next year and the possibility of a rematch. And honestly, I think the most interesting thing about the Pac-12 teams joining the Big Ten is that it really does mix it up. Like, I don't think we are going to live in a world next year where it's just going to be assumed Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State. I do think, especially next year, Washington, Oregon, USC are going to cause some people to trip up a little bit. I just don't think it's a foregone conclusion anymore.
I don't disagree with that. I think there's going to be somewhat of a transitional year for them as well in recruiting. Moving to the Big Ten, getting out of the West Side, I think that's going to be a little bit of a transition. But
playing defense.
Playing defense. Yeah, exactly. Not scoring, 45 to 35 every game. But it's going to be fun to see. But it's still going to be Michigan, Ohio State.
If I was the Big Ten, because it's
sorry, Raj.
Because it's a national conference or nationwide conference now, I would do what they do with these conference challenges in basketball is like predict what's going to happen and change the divisions every year and just say, all right, let's see if we can balance them out and then play. Because I agree, Brandon. If it is, let's say it is Michigan, Ohio State, or Oregon, Washington. If you play the last week of the season, you have a rematch. They don't want a third game in the playoffs, and
right. Well, and that rematch in the Big Ten championship changes things. Then you get to make it to the Big Ten championship because you only, lost one game or whatever. But regardless.
All right, we're off topic. Let's talk about Washington and Texas. Michelle, what is your, not picking it yet, but what's your feel of this matchup? You have an old Washington coach going against his old team and Steve Sarkisian going against Washington. Little hatred there. What do you think?
I think Texas is a more complete team than Washington. So Washington is really good at passing and catching, and their defense has not been terrific. I think Texas's defense is better than Washington's, especially its passing defense. I think Texas being the more complete team, the more balanced team offensively. Although I said that about Oregon, honestly, and I look foolish.
I was a big Oregon. Yeah.
Statistically had better defense, better run game, like about equal passing game to Washington, and Washington just figured out how to get it done. So on paper, I guess I like Texas, but Washington continues to find a way.
Yeah. Brandon, the committee had a choice to give Washington or Michigan the 1 seed. 1 seed goes the closest to home. Washington would have been in the Rose Bowl. They gave them the 2 seed, sending them to New Orleans. I expect it to be a Texas home field advantage.
For sure.
How much does that play into, well, one, the committee's decision? Also, does that lead you to favor Texas?
I haven't seen the line. I didn't look at it, but I would assume when you get that kind of an advantage, it's about a 3-point advantage, if I'm thinking correctly. So yeah, Texas has been
The
good.
line is Texas minus 4.5. Just FYI.
So they're a 1.5 point favorite in my eyes. And you know, I've doubted Washington just like Michelle. Like I thought Oregon was the real deal. I thought that it was a fluke that they lost the first time. I thought their offense was too powerful for Washington to hold. And they, I mean, just kicked them right in the mouth, dude. It was, I did not expect that game. So I'm going to go against Washington again because I'm an idiot. And I think Texas here, Quinn Ewers should have been a Buckeye, was a Buckeye. And I think he's playing too well right now.
All right, Tom, what do you think? Where are you leaning right now, the matchup wise, coaching wise? How does it shape out for you? Gut reaction on what do you think happens?
Well, I think on paper, you give the advantage to Texas. Home field advantage you give to Texas. But I think what we did see last Friday was a team in Washington that had no respect. And not only did they start out an 8.5 point underdog, it ended up at 10 before kickoff. And if that's not motivating to get your team going, I don't know what is. They've kind of gotten past every hurdle that they've faced. So offensively, I think this is a really good matchup. Both teams go downfield quick. With former Michigan receiver Xavier Worthy, they got Sanders. They got big receivers, and Ewers has a big arm and get down there. Washington has the best receiver in college football in Rome Odunze. Sorry, Brandon. So I think offensively, this thing is evenly matched. Defensively is where we're going to come into play. Those big boys in the Big 12, which will be in the SEC next year, they're a little different breed. I think they'll be able to get to Penix. He's going to have to utilize his legs a little bit more. So I think based upon more of a defensive size and speed, Texas might have the advantage. But if you're a betting person, I would highly go for the over in this one because I think it's going to be fireworks for that game.
I like it. Just briefly, just what's the we talked about the playoff. What's the bowl game besides the Final Four, the playoff that you're looking forward to most, Tom?
Oh man, well clearly, besides the Final Four,
yeah.
Well, I'm looking at them now. Well, the one I don't want to watch is Iowa, Tennessee. I think that's going to be a big snooze fest.
Yeah, someone was asking if I'm going to that game. I'm like, hell no, I'm not flying to Orlando to go watch Iowa and Tennessee play.
I think the Peach Bowl here, Ole Miss and Penn State. These are two teams that are always not good enough in their conferences. So I think it's an opportunity for both coaches that fall short. With James Franklin clearly falls short all the time. So I think this is an opportunity for them to get kind of a one leg up in next season. So I think that's probably one bowl game, or I'm going to maybe go with the Alamo Bowl, although Gabriel is not playing for Oklahoma, so he's in the portal. But I love what Arizona's done this year. I think the sky's the limit for what Jedd Fisch can do there. So that could be a huge opportunity for them.
Yeah, mine's a toss up between the Cotton Bowl, Missouri and Ohio State, and the Peach Bowl, Mississippi and Penn State. Those are going to both be great games. Michelle?
Yeah, I'm super curious to see Missouri versus Ohio State as well. Missouri is a team that has overperformed this year by a mile, and I think they have a lot to prove.
Missouri's favored 1.5 in this
I'm
game.
super curious to get your thoughts on this as an Ohio State fan. So I feel like Ohio State is probably going to have quite a few opt-outs. We've already seen a fair number of guys hit the portal. Like, if Ohio State brings its B game, which I think a lot of teams do in bowl situations,
Sure.
do you think they still can beat Missouri? Because Missouri will absolutely want to claim victory over Ohio State. You know they will.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So are you at all nervous? Do you think Ohio State fans
No, I'm actually
out here are gonna like disregard it as like we weren't trying? I'm so fascinated from an Ohio State fan's perspective what this bowl game means to you.
So this is like a preseason game of like next man up kind of deal, because there are going to be some opt-outs in certain positions and hitting the portals and, you know, all these other players. So next man up, let's see how deep the recruiting goes. Are these kids, you know, prepared, ready? Can they start day one next year? And that's what I'm looking forward to see. And they're going to be excited about that. You know, these kids that haven't started, they're going to love it. It's full-time game competition, big stage. So yeah, I'm anxious to see. Now, am I expecting a whole lot? I mean, a little bit, because it is Ohio State, and we are next man up, and we do have those players that can step up and come out of nowhere, no name, and just show up and play really good. There's some 5-star wide receivers. Quarterback situation, you know, we got Devin Brown or Lincoln. You know, it's going to be kind of a mix between them. Obviously, McCord is going to opt out. He's in the transfer portal. I don't see Harrison playing. Even in Emeka Mbuka, I don't see him playing in this game.
And Fleming is not playing. Like he's
in the transfer portal.
Right.
Yeah, he's in the portal.
Third best receiver easily, and he's out.
He got overshadowed. So Fleming was our best blocking wide receiver this year. Unfortunately for him, that was just his role. And Tate actually kind of outshadowed him a little bit this year. And I think that kind of pissed him off, because most of the plays that he was in and called on, he was blocking. And now he was a 5-star recruit in 2020. He was, you know, one of the top recruits in wide receiver coming out. And he just, I mean, he's had like 78 catches and, you know, a couple touchdowns. He just hasn't been very productive on the receiving end, more of a blocking receiver. And that's just not his role. It's not what he wants to be. And look, more power to him. Go somewhere. I mean, there's literally 6 5-stars sitting behind you ready to start. So
I will push back, Brandon. I think this is a huge game for Ryan Day, because perception becomes reality. You've lost to Michigan 3 in a row. You lose this game with all the people in the transfer portal. Are the wheels starting to fall off?
No,
and
the wheels are
already talking Columbus.
You can stir up all you want, Robbie. This is we're looking ahead to next year at this point.
I'm telling
you,
like,
lose it. I guess I
listen. Next year is Ryan Day's year. Like if he doesn't win next year against the team up north, that's it. He's done.
These are the wheels starting to fall off.
This is a formality at this point. It is like, let's try out some players and let's throw them out there. Like, who cares about playing Missouri in a freaking bowl game? Nobody.
Hold on a second. The casuals care. Like, the casuals who don't understand the bowl dynamics see Ohio State lose to Missouri in the Peach Bowl, which is not like a joke bowl, right? It's not the like ReliaQuest Bowl. No offense, but
Pop-Tarts Bowl.
And to your point, Michelle, most people probably think Missouri's a 7-5 team.
right, exactly. Like if you haven't been paying attention to college football, you
Right.
don't know how good Missouri is. You just think they're like the
You're right.
of the SEC.
Yeah, you're
And
100% right.
Ohio State loses to the caboose of the SEC, and all of
Then
a
they're
sudden,
like, "Oh, the Big Ten is terrible," and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
You know, Missouri has
But the real
a
people
has a comedian
understand this
for a
is
coach.
stupid, right?
Hey,
This is a
there's far
formality.
more casual fans than there are hardcore fans that look at things. Let's talk about the portal, though. Michelle, you wanted to bring it up. Let's. What are your thoughts about this? Not only this stage of college football, but this year specifically in college football.
so I have been delighted by the portal chaos so far, in part because
Exit stage left.
Yeah.
Oh, we've got him flustered. He's going to check. He just went to go write a donation to the Keep Ryan Day Fund.
No, I took a drink of the wrong, went down the wrong pipe
I
there.
think my comment is what went down the wrong pipe there.
We'll be on TikTok, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
Look for that on TikTok.
If you remember my question.
No, I do.
No one knows.
I think so. I posed this question earlier, and I remain genuinely curious about whether or not there is a benefit to being in the college football playoff, aside from just the success of the program, and that your players are not announcing for the portal yet, right? So, like Michigan, nobody's announcing for the portal because they're going to the playoff, but Michigan for sure will have people who portal this year. We know that. And I think Ohio State is at a little bit
Get the championship ring. You got to stay around for it.
Ohio State is at a bit of a disadvantage right now in the portal conversations because you're seeing some really big names hit the portal, right? Chip Trayanum just hit the portal today. Kyle McCord hit the portal. And it makes you wonder. And if I'm a portal player and I'm watching Ohio State shed a fair number of its starters, like big name starters, right? Julian Fleming as well. You just you have to ask yourself, is there something going on? And even if it's not that, even if it's something else, I don't know. I think it's a problem, but I love the chaos right now. I will not love it after Michigan season ends and some Michigan players hit the portal, but for now it's really
Michigan's recruited the portal very well.
Oh, Michigan has absolutely
who's
strategically cleaned up in the portal.
Who's the 5-star that's looking at Michigan? The 5-star quarterback that's looking at Michigan right now?
Dante Moore.
Dante Moore.
Yeah.
So Dante Moore, father's a huge Michigan fan. The Detroit kid, went to King, was recruited by Matt Weiss. And word on the street, he botched the recruitment. And that is why he ended up at Oregon, which ultimately ended up at UCLA. So all indications are, A, he's homesick, and B, Michigan is at the top of his list. So, which begs me to wonder, there was grumblings that JJ might come back next year. If they go after Dante Moore, there's no way JJ McCarthy comes back. And then on the flip side of that, you have Jaden Davis out of North Carolina, a 4-star quarterback that has been as advertised. He's a 5-star now.
I think he is.
Preseason, he was 4. But what's going to happen with him? Because I think one thing we're starting to see with this transfer portal is these kids want to come in and they want to play right away. And if there's somebody with the likes of Dante Moore sitting there with, don't forget about Alex Orji, who has been used in the offense the last couple of games, which is interesting to me. So how is that going to pan? And that goes for any school with these high school recruits. I think the transfer portal has changed how you recruit in high school, because it's no guarantee that, you got a verbal as a junior, and you're going to Michigan. Now this kid, 5-star from 2 years ago, is going to transfer to Michigan. I might want to think about going somewhere else that allows me to play right away. So it's a chess game now. It really is a chess game.
Yeah.
And it's wild. And I heard a comment this morning on one of the I believe it was Mad Dog Radio on Sirius XM. They said you can eliminate the name and amateurism in college football because it doesn't exist now. These kids are bartering for the best deals. Who's going to give me more money? Who's going to provide for my family? That's where I'll go, and it's crazy.
Well, and it's position by position, right? So, like, if you're saying, and you're right about the chess game, like, oh, if my dream school is, say, South Carolina, and I want to go there and play football, or I want to play quarterback. Well, hey, you can't play right away. Go somewhere for a year or two, get your reps in, then transfer here. Yeah. But like running backs, the opposite, right? Like Nick Saban is for years has sold Alabama running backs on. You don't want to get hit very much. You can't go to pros till 3 years removed. Come to Alabama, just wait. You'll get your year, get your NFL. So it does very much vary on position. Brandon, Ohio State has been the little punching bag here this last couple of minutes.
Brandon,
you guys have been hit with the transfer portal pretty hard.
Hey, I can take it. I got a strong chin. First off, Tom,
because you have
your radio station, Mad Dog, sounds made up. So I don't even want to hear.
It is not. It is not
anything from them.
You've never heard of Mad Dog Radio?
So Matt, that just sounds like something you wrote down as a child.
It's Mad Dog Radio. No, it's.
We're not going to go there. And the reason we're having so many transfers is because we have so many 5-stars.
We need to start sourcing Tom's made up radio station.
that is headline one. The reason we have so many transfers in the portal, there's two reasons actually. It's a two-part answer here. The first part, when you have so many 5-stars, they're unlike Saban, some of them don't want to wait. And this is only the second year in the portal, right? And now they're finding out, hey, we can go make $1 million over here at Florida State and we never make it to a playoff and blah, blah, blah. We can do that. And then there's the Ryan Day effect, which he's on a thin line, right? Obviously, the media is blowing him up. All you Michigan fans are blowing him up. Ryan Day, he's transferring out. He's going out. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. His job's on the line next year for sure. So look, there's one thing in the contract at Ohio State. It doesn't matter if you win a national championship. You got to beat the team up north. And if you don't do that, if this goes 4 years, I mean, I'm not calling for him to be fired yet. Look, Jim Harbaugh lost to Urban, 3 years straight before he won?
7. Wait, or no, Urban won 7 years.
Urban won 7 straight.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're still technically up, but, that's a formality. We're not going to go there, but Ryan Day's he's on the hot seat for sure. But transfer portal, it's all crazy. No one's ever seen this before. And this is actually the first year of the, tippy toe. Last year was kind of tippy toe because it was all new. Everyone's just like, should I put in the portal? Should I not? That kind of move. Now it's like, I can go make $1 million over here at, South Carolina, hair and nail, Texas college, whatever. And, they're going to go start quarterback over there and make $1 million. And, I would transfer over there too. If I'm sitting behind, JJ McCarthy and can't play, you just over there stealing signs on the side and, doing all that.
I mean,
I'm kid. I kid.
According to High Hog Radio in Arkansas, Jim Tressel has been seen in Columbus, ready to come take back over the reins.
Hey.
There you go, guys.
There it is. Tom just made that on Carvana right now, like 30 seconds ago. He literally just made that. That is not a true station. I don't even know what he's.
Hey, Tom should start Lost Dog Radio. 16 weeks in the wilderness.
Hey, it's a success story. It's a happy ending.
Success story.
That's all that matters.
Sorry, Michelle, we're getting retarded.
All right, so before we end up here tonight, so no official Bet Your Nuts segment this week because we're gonna do a bowl preview show, and the college basketball is infuriating with their lines. So what we're gonna do is right now, where are you guys leaning? Michigan versus Alabama. opened at -2.5. It's been bet down to -1.5 for Michigan. Over under 45.5. I think you guys know where I land on this. I'm going Alabama. I think the defenses are both overly aggressive, and I think big plays get played. Right now, I like Alabama +1.5 and the over. Tom?
Well, like I said 2 weeks ago, my X factor is Mikey Sainristil. This guy in a matter of one season went from maybe an invite to a training camp to potential first-round draft pick. His production is he a corner? Is he a hybrid safety? Whatever he is, he's a ball hawk. I think he could be the X factor. I like Michigan to come in here and kind of, even though they're the one seed, I think they're going to spoil a lot of people in the SEC on New Year's Day.
Michelle?
A surprise. I like Michigan. I also
I'll be y'all's bookie, by the way.
Okay. All right. Bet.
That's what the kids are saying, right?
Kids are saying. I understand from Jim Harbaugh that it means bringing everyone together.
Bringing everyone together.
That's what he said after bet. He's such a quirky dude.
No, I like the under. I think it's actually going to be pretty hard. Michigan has the best defense in the country, in my view. Alabama is not far behind. I think Michigan is going to be pretty successful at containing Milroe, knock on wood. And Michigan has shown us already that they can really slow the pace of play as needed, score only as much as they have to. So I think the under is a pretty safe bet here.
Well, you have picked up quickly on how to make money. Bet the exact opposite of what I bet.
Baiting.
Yes. Brandon, what do you like?
I like the prop bet of them showing Jim Harbaugh's face over 3.5 times. That's my bet.
That's a safe bet. And with a oops, I crap my pants look on it too. So that's a guarantee.
Washington versus Texas. Texas -4.5, over under 62.5. Brandon, what do you like there?
I like Texas. I'm leaning Texas. I know Washington just always surprises you. You know, Penix is great. I'm gonna lean over and not pick a side. I'm gonna go over.
Tom?
I think Penix's experience is the difference in this game, and his escapability. Rome Odunze, like I said earlier, is numbers wise had probably the best season as a wide receiver, and just seeing how they came out. Oregon, that game was, I mean, right off the jump, Washington took control. I don't know if that's the case in this situation, but I do see Penix is going to put his head in that compartment, wherever he's doing on the sidelines. And I don't know if it's pumping him oxygen or whatnot, but I think his experience comes into play. And I like Washington maybe by a field goal. Going to be a real close game, back and forth. And I agree with Brandon. Give me the over. This thing could be a shootout.
All right, Michelle.
All right. I just think we need the NCAA to investigate whatever is going on in that little hood that Penix is putting his head in. What is in there?
It's weird. It's so weird.
It's like the
so
spray
weird.
at the World Cup, like the little
I
soccer
don't
spray
know.
they
I don't
have.
know
But
what
they
it
just
is. I think
spray
we
it on
need
and it just fixes everything.
investigation. Just saying, because they keep feeding the spread. No, I actually really like Washington, notwithstanding the fact that I do think Texas is a more complete team. Washington just continues to find a way to win games.
Yeah.
And
Their defense is surprisingly good, in my opinion.
it's not a surprise to me. I thought preseason they looked like they were going to be the best defense in the Pac-12. I don't think they were. I think Oregon was actually a better defense, but Washington played enough defense to somehow beat Oregon 2 times. I think they continue on that streak. I honestly think they're sort of this year's TCU. They both wear purple. They both have been in a lot of close games with inferior opponents. And I think they keep that weird purple streak alive and beat Texas.
So you're going money line.
I would go Washington money line.
I tend to agree with you, Michelle, which is dangerous for your behalf. I think Steve Sarkisian, he has that Lane Kiffin, James Franklin vibe to me. I just can't trust him in a big game.
He's like a smarmy.
And so he's gonna have to win both of these for me to get that stench off of him. So I'm going Washington. I'll take the points for sure, but I think they're gonna win also. All right, so this would be a real life bet. This is called the Iowa NFL Special. Tomorrow night, Patriots at Pittsburgh, over under 30 points for an NFL game. Are you guys going over or under?
Over.
Tom, you're under. Brandon?
I'm taking under.
It's the lowest. It's the lowest they've had in 3 decades. The lowest over under.
This is They're wanting you to bet the over. It's going to be under, but I'm going to.
Amazon needs to call and get a refund for some of that $1 billion they're paying a year for this game. I'm going to go under, I guess, but I don't. Yeah, under.
Ugly.
Special.
UGLY.
All right, final thoughts before we round up. Final words, not final thoughts. Final words.
Final words.
Words matter. Brandon, we'll start with you.
I wish Alabama and Michigan could both lose in this college football playoff, but they can't. That being said, just this whole fiasco, I would not like to see Alabama win.
You just can't say it.
That's all I got.
All right.
I can't say anything else.
Tom, what about you?
I've got a little bone to pick with the NCAA. Last night they handed out the Broyles Award, and it went to the Iowa defensive coordinator, Phil Parker. Now, I don't want to take anything away from what Phil Parker has been accomplished at Iowa. His defense was ridiculous, and it's been top 15, years and years and years. So I don't want to take anything away from him. But there was an assistant coach that just so happened to be thrown in the reins of interim head coach right here in Ann Arbor, and the name is Sharon Moore, who the 2 biggest games of the season, he was head coach, OC, and offensive line coach. And he got the job done, not to mention the 2 games that he head coached earlier in the season. So 5-0 as an interim head coach. If that doesn't qualify you for the Broyles Award, I don't know what does. But so my final words are NCAA. You just keep making yourself look worse and worse. And we all know who the award winner is. But kudos to Phil Parker. He does a great job. Michelle and I bared witness to that last week in the Big Ten championship game because they stuffed our run game, but they still got it wrong.
Well said. And how many games did he coach versus how many Harbaugh actually coached?
Harbaugh coached 6.
How many did he coach?
5.
Yeah, that's pretty damn impressive.
Ohio State might be recruiting him after Ryan Day's departure next year.
Mike Vrabel, I'm telling you.
My final words are,
I wouldn't be mad at that.
Everyone complains that there's too many bowl games. I disagree. I like them. It's something to throw on TV through this holiday season and gamble on. And so I'm one of those. Bring on the bowls. Let the kids have fun. Let them play. And so I enjoy bowl season, and I love this overlap between college basketball and college football. So good time of the year moving forward. Michelle, thanks for coming, and we'll let you have the final words.
I have 3 quick final thoughts. First, the Tui family is a fraud. 2, Florida State got screwed. 3, if Michigan was without Mikey Sanristil, by the college football playoff committee's criteria, Michigan should be disqualified. Those are my final thoughts.
Do you want to expand on the Tui family? Because we were talking pre-show. We're a little out of the loop on that. You don't have to. Is it?
I would love to. I would love to. If I could just have 45 seconds.
Yes.
Yeah.
Please.
That the Tui family admitted in a filed document this week that they entered into a conservatorship with Michael Orr so that they could circumvent the NCAA's rules on providing lodging, food, benefits from a booster to a recruit, which was Michael Orr. They never explained why they didn't formally adopt him, even though, you'll know this, Robbie, perhaps as a lawyer in Tennessee, even though in Tennessee it is easier to enter into an adoption arrangement with an adult than it is to enter into a conservatorship arrangement with an adult.
Extremely more easy.
And yet they told him they were adopting him. They didn't. Instead, they chose a conservatorship format, which is legally more difficult. And basically went around the country peddling the lie that they had legally adopted him. It was on their website. It was in every speech they gave. He's our adopted son. He's our adopted son. When the whole time they were just in a conservatorship arrangement with him. It's bananas. And the only reason they formalized the legal relationship in the first place was to skirt the NCAA rules prohibiting boosters from providing benefits to college athletes.
And I'm going to recklessly speculate here because it had to be an agreed upon conservatorship because no doctor would say he needed a conservatorship. So they probably gave him the papers saying this is your adoption paperwork, and it was really a conservatorship.
Sign here.
Yes.
Dirty.
Yes.
Dirty.
Yeah, that's so. It makes me not even want to watch that movie. Like I love that movie.
I love it too. Everybody
and now I don't even want to watch it because it's such bullshit.
So Michelle, what's the latest in that case? Are they?
So the latest in that case, because I've now gone all the way deep into the rabbit hole of the Shelby County Probate Court docket.
Oh.
And the latest is there is currently a motion for a preliminary injunction pending. Michael Orr filed it. The Tui family has officially responded. The motion is about whether the Tui family can continue to talk about Michael Orr or whether or not their continued discussion of him and specifically their continued promulgation of the narrative that he was adopted violates a Tennessee statute prohibiting the commercial use of another person's name, image, and likeness.
We got some country music law going on and some NFL law and some family.
So deep into it.
Yes.
I will talk about
it. Why don't you text us or tweet? We could do like a little emergency, update or something, like 20 minutes or something. If something big breaks or whatever.
Oh my gosh,
later
it's
down the road.
Raj.
Hey,
Raj is alive.
You just showed up right after our final thoughts. So
What are
Sweet.
your final thoughts?
yeah.
I was just listening to the 2E4 discussion after Michelle, and I was praying to God you didn't ask me a question after that. Because
Well, you weren't on here until just now.
well, even if I were, I was like, Tom, don't go to me, because she just absolutely destroyed that one, and she nailed it per usual. Are we talking legal stuff? Quickly, I thought it was interesting, and we'll take Michelle and Rob's take on this, that one of the most interesting bowl matchups were both, it's stupid rule when two schools come up from the FCS, they got to wait 2 years to be in their conference title game and get into a bowl. This year, James Madison and Jacksonville State, which is also called the Gamecocks. They're also called the Gamecocks, which there should only be one of those. I mean, it's weird. But but Jacksonville State, legally speaking, they were what? No, James Madison, rather. The Dukes were 10-0, and they were threatening legal action. Even going as far as to say, an antitrust was thrown out there by the Virginia Attorney General. And Michelle, Rob, could you guys explain what they meant by that? Now, they dropped it after they lost a game to Appy State, and they realized they were getting in regardless. But what did they mean by that for you two, and how does that relate at all, or does it, to Florida State?
So I'll take a stab at it first. I obviously don't practice antitrust law, but this is what I remember from law school, and kind of just so it's almost impossible in those people's scenario to have an antitrust lawsuit, because the NCAA is one entity, bowls are their own individual entities. And so the bowls invite people. Now, they have relationships with conferences, but the bowls can't conspire with the NCAA to keep people in and out. And also, James Madison, Jackson, they accepted the rules when they transferred divisions. So essentially, you're saying, I agree to these rules. Well, now a year later, I don't agree to them because we're good. And so it's just kind of this like, oh, I agree to pay my credit card debt. And then, until I accumulate the debt, now I'm like, actually, that's no good. And so there's just too many moving entities and too many parts for there to be an antitrust collusion in order to keep them out. Now, they could go and say, hey, we're going to play each other in our make-believe bowl or whatever it wants to be. They could do that and call it what they want. It's just there's no TV network, there's no TV contract, and that's why they're not doing it, because it's not profitable. And by the way, most of these teams lose money on bowl games.
I feel like Michelle's about to blow this up.
Well, I don't know, maybe. I mean, I just Googled this, and Google says they're playing Air Force in a bowl game.
Yeah, it was like they basically didn't have enough teams, so they both were allowed, and they needed one more team, and Minnesota at 5-7 was the team that got in.
It looks like they are gonna play in a bowl game.
James Madison is, or Jacksonville State?
Both are. They were last-second additions because teams were needed, so they dropped that suit. But I was just asking in theory about that suit, and could it apply in any way to Florida
the NCAA
State?
is under a lot of antitrust heat. I really hope they've retained the best antitrust lawyers available to them, because there are threats all around. I do think it was the anti-competitive nature generally of excluding them on the basis of that rule that was probably going to prompt that antitrust suit. There's another antitrust suit pending in the District of Colorado right now against the NCAA for excluding players from participating in revenue from media rights. I actually plan to attend that scheduling conference live in person in January. It's on the calendar.
So
It's a
tell us
special
you're a
nerd.
nerd
That's
without telling us
outstanding.
you're a nerd.
No, that's outstanding. Special nerd.
That's what
status.
I'm sure it's going to be like a packed courtroom, right? I'm sure I'll be like one of, 200 people who are at that scheduling conference, right?
Of course.
Yeah. Well, you'll have to come on and talk about what
I'd
you
be delighted to do.
what you learned from that.
Sure.
Absolutely.
All right.
Well,
final words.
Raj,
Yeah.
you got any final words as you checked in at the last minute?
Just quickly, I think we discussed the Heisman. Well, I'm sure. And
we didn't.
We did.
Oh, you didn't?
No,
Well, I hate Bo Nix because I hate Oregon and I hate dudes with frosted tips, especially in 2023.
Coming in with anger.
And you don't like tattooed white quarterbacks either.
No, especially on their arms. Like, there's just something about it when they're tatted up on their arms or a sleeve. Like, they usually, like Will Levis and Tate
What was
Martell.
Kelly dude from Ole Miss, or what was that dude's name?
You mean Matt Moore or?
no, he got hurt in a bowl game. Phoenix.
Yeah.
Oh, Matt.
Oh,
Matt-
no.
Matt Corral.
Matt-
Matt Corral.
Matt
Matt
Corral.
Corral,
I love Matt
yeah.
Corral.
Matt Corral was from Long Beach Poly, by the way. So he ended up transferring, but he was confused ethnically. Let's put it that way. Polys were like Snoop Dogg, and I'm not inferring anything else from that, but
I've been to a Long Beach Poly game, by the way.
Oh, for real? Where at?
At Long Beach Poly. I went when they played Notre Dame High School.
Oh, well, I guess that would make sense. Yeah, it's they were old school.
I've been to Disney World before. Where'd you go?
Man.
Disney World.
You jack off. They have all these showcases now where these teams travel across the country.
No, this was
But
a
anyways.
local matchup. Notre Dame High School. It actually included. Hold on a second. This is important. Giancarlo Stanton was the quarterback,
Oh, wow.
Ah,
Dude,
nice.
and
So you're
In that
dating
case-
yourself a little bit there.
I am a little bit.
Mike
Giancarlo
Stanton, you mean?
Mikey, he was Mikey then.
Yeah,
Now
Mike
he's
Stanton.
Giancarlo.
Giancarlo.
And then Wes Horton and Shane Horton were on that team. Both
Yeah.
eventually went to USC.
USC, yeah.
And
Wes Horton went to the pros for a while.
I was the girlfriend of their cousin, and that's why I was there.
Oh, now it comes out.
Ooh.
You're okay. I get it now. But yeah, talented teams. I remember back in the day, they were the Jackrabbits. But anyways, I was talking about quickly Heisman, and I don't like Bo Nix. And one stat I read, and I'm trying to verify, was ADOT, average depth of target, because a lot of us call him the check down. Whatever. People have said different misogynistic words, but reportedly he's down around 7 yards or below, which is like 193rd in the country. Whereas everyone else is where they should be. Daniels around 11, Penix much higher. Jalen Milroe was leading the country in that. But it just, kind of proves my point about the guy. He didn't suddenly become a great quarterback. And again, I hate him. So even though he had 40 touchdowns and 3 picks and 6 more TDs, screw him. And let's go former ASU Sun Devil Daniels.
All right.
That's it.
All right, everyone. Thank you for watching. Raj hates Bo Nix, and Ryan Day's getting fired.
Love
And
that guy.
apparently, everyone hates the SEC.
And Mad Dog Radio is a real station.
And
It is a made-up
High
station.
Hog
Yeah.
Radio. High Hog Radio.
Lost Dog Radio, apparently.
Yeah.
Lost Dog Radio. We got all kinds of.
All right, guys. Until next time, everyone, be careful. Enjoy the holiday season.
See you guys tomorrow night.
Feel like I'm
Thanks for listening to another episode of Reckless Speculation. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube searching Reckless Speculation. Catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. We look forward to catching you right here next week with another exciting episode.